Well, I'm Graham. I was originally brought up in the London area. I've moved north and spent 40 years in Yorkshire. And then I moved to the south coast, to Southampton. Was there for 15 years until I moved to this village, Burwell. I remember that my first years as a teenager were really miserable. A new boy joined the school and he befriended me. And I soon found out that his best friend had been my first friend when I started school at the age of 5. And I quickly discovered that he and my original friend were both training to be professional organists. I really liked the music they played, which was mostly classical music, of course. So I started going to the local Church of England church, going to the evening service. I spotted a girl from school. She came over to me, invited me to a Bible study. And so I started to go to these Bible studies on a Sunday evening. We were working through the book of Romans, but eventually we got to Romans chapter 12. Paul begins that chapter, "I urge you, brothers and sisters, to present yourselves as a living sacrifice." And suddenly, it was no longer an academic study. It was like God's voice was speaking directly to me. I went home that evening. I just knelt in my bedroom and I prayed and I offered my life to Jesus. And really that was the turning point. Well, I arrived at university. Come December, I realised that I simply wasn't taking in what was being taught in the lectures. I went to visit my pastor, who was the pastor of the church that I'd joined. Started talking to him, but then I just suddenly broke down in tears. He prayed for me, and his wife offered me a bed in their spare room and invited me to stay with them until it was time to go home for Christmas. So that was a tremendous support, but that was a time really where everything suddenly became really dark. I got a job at first in Bradford, actually in a Christian bookshop in Leeds, and that was a healing time. I sensed God had a lot of prayer from pastor and other members of the church. Before I went to university, after leaving school, I visited my neighbour. She said to me, "I think you should be a pastor." As my Christian life progressed, that was something that I really thought God might want me to do. So I was a member of this new church, which had been newly planted. The pastor there, when it came to him retiring, he nominated me to be the full-time leader. Now, I hadn't had any formal college training for church leadership, but in our particular group of churches, that wasn't always the case. If you had the experience and you'd had the hands-on training as a leader for a number of years, they seemed to think that I would be able to do it. Okay. That was really 14 very happy years, and I felt fulfilled in that job. But I just think, just one thing I'd like to say, being a Christian isn't complicated. This is what I've found. I've been through lots of complicated things, I've learned a lot and studied, a lot about the Bible, but really, it isn't complicated at all. We just have to listen to what Jesus says and put his words into practice.